take me away. I don't wanna be here. Take me away. Festival coming up.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unknown Destination, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything and never know where we are going to end up. My name is Justin. That is Andrew over there. Andrew, how are you doing today? Andrew, you are muted.
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty well. So it's been a couple of weeks. If this is your first time tuning in for our podcast, we are both travel industry experts. Both of us have worked in the corporate travel industry for a number of years, and we just kind of discuss what's going on in the travel industry. And I think there's a decent amount of news over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I had quite a bit ready to go for a couple weeks ago. And I'm kind of glad that we did take just a little bit of a hiatus because almost all of that has changed, all of that information due to recent politics and just world's goings on. So ready to get back into it, though.
Goings-ons. Same. So normally we kind of do things in a bit of order and start with rail. So I want to start off with something kind of just fun for the week, just because depressing news is depressing. And that is, if you are somebody that's looking to travel right now or looking to travel sometime later this year, Southwest is celebrating its 50th year in service with $50 one-way flights. All you have to do is go to southwest.com, and those prices are available from now through February 8th. Tickets do require a 21-day advance purchase, and they are valid for travel between February 9th and May 26th, including the continental U.S., Hawaii, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and all other international destinations that Southwest flies to.
Have you, has Southwest made any kind of announcements that you've seen lately about doing any kind of vaccine-nication, the vacation vaccine combo that we were reading about?
I haven't. The only thing that I've really seen from Southwest is this, and then bragging about the fact that they haven't had to lay people off, which is great. But that's about it.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if that was something that they were going to be trying to push with their kind of spring, early summer push for travel.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the first thing that I got here was I actually love I read this article because I hate clickbait titles, but then if it's good, I've got to read it. So this is the title for this article is Why Bill Gates is Wrong and Business Travel Won't Die in 2021. And I love this because I'm really bad at following kind of mainstream news. I'm not a huge fan, as anybody that's listened to our podcast before is aware of. But so I just kind of read up on what Bill Gates was saying, and he was saying that, you know, corporate travel will never be the same. He's predicting that over 50% of business travel is going to go away permanently now that remote work and virtual meetings have become the norm. Which I do think that there will be some obvious degradation of business travel, but I don't think it's going to be that drastic. Because I think that, for one, a lot of people, a lot of business workers that are normal business travelers are going insane, being cooped at home. A lot of them travel and they get a lot of their work done while they're traveling on their flights, and they don't have that norm of doing it at home. So, you know, productivity can suffer. But for the article, the author of this just kind of gave 3 points of why they believe that Bill Gates is wrong about this. The first one being human connection is how work gets done, which is kind of what I was alluding to. You know, being in the office, you're always going to be more productive than being at home as a home worker. It is probably the biggest challenge of being self-motivated. The second one that they said, the second little note here, that is there will be an arms race in sales. So what this author is meaning by that is that they're your CFO or whoever's in charge of your finances for your company is going to be thrilled about the lower travel and entertainment and expenses. But the sales numbers they're going to reflect that. You're not going out to meet with those clients. You're losing clients, you know, swept under the rug because you're not going face to face, those kinds of things. And then the last point is he put in quotes, never travelers will become travelers. So this is just meaning
Yeah.
that, yeah, like when everyone was in the office, you could easily meet up, you know, have an informal conference, which does not happen if you're not in the office. Those kind of brainstorming sessions are not happening as frequently. So I think those are three good points that this author has made. They go into a little bit more detail, but that's the gist of it. I want to say that I do agree with that to an extent. I think there is going to be a huge boom in business travel when the vaccine is readily available worldwide. I think that we are going to see the likes of Microsoft and Google, these huge companies. They're going to be traveling, and it's going to come back in a huge way. I do think it'll tone down probably pretty quickly after the initial boom of everybody kind of getting work restarted. But to that extent, I don't foresee over 50% of business travelers going away permanently.
Yeah, I would have to say at this point, I agree with that. At the beginning of this, I definitely thought it was going to hurt the industry as far as corporate travel pretty badly. And I do still think there's going to be that permanent hit from people going to virtual meetings. But I don't think it's going to be anywhere on the level that we initially really thought, in the level that Bill Gates still seems to think. I can see maybe a 10 to 15% decline in corporate travelers. But other than that, there's something to be said about meeting in person. And I think it's, especially like you mentioned, sales, I think going more old fashioned and actually going out to meet a client is going to be the way to keep your accounts in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. That I am allowed to say this, but this was one of my company's biggest sales years in recent history, and this is because of kind of being able to go that extra mile for the clients. And you know, the business acquisitions, yeah, nobody's traveling right now, but you still need to hold on to your clients. And if you're not even reaching
Yeah.
out to them to see what their needs are going to be, you know, in a 5-year plan, they're thinking that you're not taking them seriously. So I do think that there's going to be a decline, like you're saying, like 10-15% over the long run for sure, because I think that they are realizing that a lot of it can be done virtually. But I still think that there's going to be that need there.
I would agree. So kind of going on to that, and kind of unfortunately going back into the COVID discussion about air travel. Today's a big day here in the States. It's Inauguration Day. We get a new president as President Biden takes office. So I think it's important for us to kind of address the things that may change in the travel industry because of him. And the first thing is, last week, President Trump actually signed an executive order which would make, in effect, as of January 26th, it would lift the travel ban for UK, Ireland, most of the EU, and Brazil. And it would not have done anything with the China and Iran travel bans. Say what you will there as to why. But Joe Biden will be signing an executive order that actually reverses that. So as of now, those travel restrictions for those European countries is going to remain in place for the foreseeable future here in the US.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you also need to think that just because we're lifting a travel ban doesn't mean they are. So even if we lift a travel ban, the countries that we're lifting them to may still have no kind of quick plan for bringing in, you know, U.S. foreigners into their country.
Yeah, and kind of off of that, since we did mention that other countries may have travel bans, the UK has actually suspended all of their travel corridors. Previously, you were able to go between certain European countries or go from certain countries to England without the need to quarantine at all. That is no longer the case. All travelers that are arriving in the UK will now need to quarantine.
Yeah, and this is I think just a few weeks ago we were saying how the UK thought that they had everything under control and they were opening international routes even, and just how quickly all of that changes.
Yeah. Uh, as far as that, the only other thing I have on that is I do have an article on Canada too. And it was basically just that Trudeau made an announcement to the country that their restrictions and rules for travel could change at any time. And he is highly encouraging anyone who's traveling in the next few months to go ahead and just cancel their trips now.
Oh wow, that's for a world leader to be saying that. That's not real great for us in the industry. But I guess doing what he thinks is the best advice for the time being. So can't really hold it against him, I guess.
Thank God for stimulus, specifically unemployment stimulus, because $600 isn't doing anything.
Yeah, for us that are in the U.S., a lot of people don't realize that a lot of travel agencies or people that work in the hospitality industry have been out of work since pretty much January of 2020.
Yeah.
Since this didn't really hit the U.S. as hard until end of March, April, when jobs really started kind of having people work from home and layoffs. We've been, kind of in it for, those extra few months. And that means that's a huge difference for a lot of people's unemployment are running out. And like Justin's saying, a $600 stimulus doesn't really ease the tension for most.
Yeah, just to put it on a personal level, to give you guys some idea, as a corporate travel agent, I've been out of my job in the travel industry since March 13th. I had started with a new industry, so my training class was just kind of postponed and put on hold. So I may end up going back to that company later. We'll see. And then, Andrew, you've been furloughed almost as long, have you not?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
furloughed. Pretty much the same amount of time. So, and I'm supposed to be going back. They said sometime after Valentine's Day. So we will see though. We got a meeting tomorrow, so fingers crossed there.
Yeah, we will see. Let's see here. Do you have anything else on air?
Kind not necessarily. It's more like I've got an article here. The summer package prices are falling to stimulate demand, basically. This is kind of all over the world, it appears. Everybody's trying to get people to book their travel for the summer, anticipating that things will kind of cool down, be more under control, better policies in place. They said that holiday travel was down, I believe, 20% this year, which they actually thought it would be much, much lower. But they're kind of worried about the summer coming up. So they're trying to put out new vacation packages. So if you are looking to book something for the summertime, I would definitely do some shopping around because you can find some amazing deals right now.
Yeah, if you didn't catch it, I just looked at a ticket a couple weeks ago and made a video on it on Frontier Airlines, a round trip from St. Louis to Denver, under $60 to take that round trip flight. So there's definitely deals out there. My last thing on air actually has nothing to do with airlines. It's just a story that I thought was crazy, so I had to share. This is from Travel and Leisure, and a man was arrested at O'Hare Airport after living in the airport undetected since October 19th.
So 3 months.
They're 3 months. Yeah. Let's see. He was 36 years old. They asked to see his identification, and he had an ID badge from an airport operations manager who reported it missing back in October. So not only was he living in the airport, but he was using a United Airlines employee's ID badge to be able to get around and whatnot.
That's kind of scary.
It's terrifying. Apparently he was a really nice guy. He had no previous criminal record, but he was charged with felony criminal trespass and misdemeanor theft, and he was arrested, it looks like, January 19th. So yeah, 3 months to the day at that point. October, November. Yeah,
He took it really well, but they still charge him with a felony. He's going away for a long time.
pretty much. They did say they were able to determine that he did not pose a security risk to the airport or the traveling public, but they are still doing an investigation. His actual home is in California's Orange County, so it's still unclear as to why he was at O'Hare. The court did deny his defense attorney's request for him to fly home, but bail was set at only $1,000, and he's due back in court later this month.
Huh? That's interesting. I don't know how that goes unnoticed for 3 months. That's absolutely terrifying because you think about how much money we put into TSA and airport security and how hard it is to do anything in an airport, and then you hear this story where a dude's been living there for 3 months.
But would you be surprised if a sketchy looking person showed you a United Airlines badge? Wouldn't you just accept they were a United employee?
Not homeless. I would probably assume that this I don't know. I want to know more about what he had access to with that.
I kind of do too. There's not much else on that story, but I expect we'll hear more in the next couple weeks.
And not to mention, I want to know what happened to this United employee that, you know, said his badge was missing, and why did they not deactivate it?
Now, that's unclear. It does not say that the badge was necessarily still active because he did report the badge missing right away. So it's very possible that this guy was just carrying the badge around so people wouldn't question why he was in the airport.
Could be. That's interesting though. I wonder if they'll end up putting anything more out on that.
We'll have to see.
Probably not.
Probably not.
They probably won't. They don't want people to hear that.
So let's move on to something we never talk about. Let's move on to rail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually have nothing for rail. I actually have something for something else that we never talk about too. So let's start with rail.
So this one is just that Eurostar rail service is facing really, really bad financial woes because of COVID-19. Their bookings have been down 95% and ridership, let's see here. Ridership is currently down to less than 1% of pre-pandemic levels.
That doesn't surprise me at all, though.
It doesn't me either, because
borders being closed to like certain countries, and then people are already not traveling. And from what we gather, at least in what we can call mainstream news, since we don't live over there, is that they seem to be taking it a little bit more seriously. So that's probably a reason for less travel in general.
Unfortunately, apparently what they have not been taking seriously is giving stimulus or assistance to the rail carriers.
I have seen that.
Yeah, here in the U.S., Amtrak did receive a grant from the last stimulus package to help them survive. But a statement from the Associated Press from Eurostar says, without additional funding from the government, there's a real risk to the survival of Eurostar, the green gateway to Europe. Eurostar and Rail Europe are by far the two largest rail carriers in Europe, and they are a very popular mode of travel there. Eurostar going away would almost give Rail Europe a monopoly on rail service, which that's probably not good.
It's not good for anyone over there. So the government should probably step in and make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
you end up getting into a pretty bad situation.
So yeah, that's all I had, but I thought it was worth mentioning because,
pretty important,
especially with us doing corporate travel. I've booked a lot of people on Eurostar.
So. Yeah, same here. Yeah, I get a lot of that because it's just the easier way to get around.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch a little bit back into kind of vacations if people are trying to travel for this summer, just because while I'm doing some research, so I've been doing some research trying to figure out a way that people can travel with potentially just their stimulus or kind of a budget friendly, how you did for a domestic trip. I want to try to do it internationally as well and show people that it really isn't that expensive if you just plan ahead. I only probably looked at flights for a couple hours the other night, and I was finding flights to Spain for under $300 for this summer.
That's crazy. And that actually brings up something to look into. As we mentioned, that $50 Southwest fare, it does include some of Southwest international destinations. So $100 round trip. Now, most of their destinations are going to be in Mexico. I believe Caribbean. They may have a couple Central America and then the Caribbean. And that is before May. So it depends on whether you feel safe traveling or not before then, or if it's a smart idea. But you can get it cheap.
Yeah, and I was looking at October. So these are amazing fares if you're looking to travel. Not quite during peak season, maybe just if you're looking at shoulder season. Seems like the best time to fly. I couldn't believe how many flights I was finding. I almost booked one myself. Going into Spain, there was a couple that went right into Paris's main airport, Charles de Gaulle, for under 500 round trip.
Wow.
I mean, if you're looking to travel, you can absolutely make it happen. So I'm going to work a little bit more. This is I don't know if this will be out this week or next week for my international trip here, but I've had so many people say, I don't have the money to travel, and then I show them how easy it is to actually travel if you just kind of manage your finances a little bit more. And this is coming from somebody who's been furloughed since going on a year now, saving $10-15 a week and that's it. So really, if you think about it, you're cutting out Starbucks twice a week, if that's what your vice is. So I really don't like that excuse that I don't have money to travel. So I'm going to show you how to do that here in the next couple weeks. But switching gears, I wanted to touch on the other subject that we don't really talk about too much, which is cruises. We don't usually have too much information on cruises, especially with COVID happening. Obviously, in a pandemic, not too many people looking to go cruising or are even allowed to right now. Celebrity Cruises just announced that they will be sailing 2022, 2023 for their Caribbean winter season. They're going to be bringing 8 of their ships, which for people that are unfamiliar with it, Celebrity Cruises is kind of the luxury brand of Royal Caribbean, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
they're going to be bringing 8, pretty much 8 of their top of the line ships for this kind of, it's called Wonder Returns, and no matter what vessel you are booked on, it's going to be basically kind of a plus or S tier class of service and just kind of experience. So if that's something you guys are interested in listening, maybe check those out. That is a couple years out, which well, it kind of goes into my how you save for an international trip. And if cruises are your thing, then that's definitely an avenue. So we'll probably do some kind of content on how you can really book a cruise for yourself as well, because that's much easier than booking international travel.
For sure. Yeah, cruise packages are pretty straightforward. You just got to know and trust the people that you're going with when you book them. But international travel can be very challenging, and there's ways that a travel agent can manipulate fares that the average person isn't going to be able to.
Sure.
Okay.
I think I only have like 1 or 2 more things here. I noticed kind of an interesting article here. This one's not going to really affect too many people, but Travel and Leisure, the magazine, they actually acquired Wyndham Destinations.
Oh,
So
wow.
this was one of the things that I had for a couple weeks ago, but since we ended up taking a little bit of a break, this obviously is still relevant because they they acquired Wyndham Destinations for $100 million. Now this is kind of a strange junk. What's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a strange acquisition for a magazine to acquire like a timeshare company.
Right.
So Wyndham Destinations, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like Wyndham's vacation rental timeshare company. It's spun off from their parent company, Wyndham Hotels, and that happened in 2018. And it's acquiring Travel and Leisure for $100 million in cash. It's going to change the travel club company. Will change its name to Travel and Leisure Co. Sometime in the first quarter of this year. And it says it will continue to, the parent company will continue to operate the media side of the company under a 30-year licensing agreement.
Wow.
So they did this. Okay. So the reason why they did this acquisition is taking place.
Yeah, please explain it to me because I don't get it.
No, I didn't either. That's why I thought this was extremely interesting. They're trying to expand the reach of timeshare and vacation clubs into new markets and appeal to the younger travelers, because I'm pretty I want to say that you and I are probably on the same page when we're thinking timeshares are a complete ripoff or a waste of everything.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I've been in a timeshare situation. I personally haven't, but I've had family that have owned timeshares. It can be beneficial if you're someone who's constantly going to the same place over and over again throughout the year. But to be 100% honest, from a financial standpoint, it would make way more sense to just invest in real estate there and then rent out your own property on Airbnb when you're not there.
Right, exactly. And that is honestly the biggest downside for timeshares. I think Airbnb was the death of timeshares.
Yeah.
And I don't have any numbers to back that up. That's just how I feel from when I was younger, how much I would hear about timeshares, to now where you don't really hear about them unless you get part of like a package where you have to sit through a timeshare because you got an awesome rate.
Well, and the funny thing is, a lot of the places that you'll see on Airbnb in like Vegas or Branson are timeshares, and they're the people that own that timeshare selling their time to you to try to make their money back because they got locked into a really bad contract.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious to see if this is going to, if they kind of try to go a different way with this, or if they are really just trying to not let timeshares go to the wayside. Um, I don't know how they're going to appeal to the younger generation via magazine, though. I think magazines are kind of still also going to the wayside.
I mean, I will say Travel and Leisure's online presence is pretty strong. They definitely have a website that's popular. And as far as search results, when you're searching travel, they do come up high in the SEO rankings. So they're one of the first things you'll see on Google. But at the same time, I honestly think most millennials are more intelligent than buying into a timeshare. And
But they don't have the money.
or they don't have the money. And most Gen Zers are the kids of millennials who tell them timeshares are stupid. So yeah,
Just even the word timeshare makes me think of boomer-esque. And that's, if they're aiming to hit a younger generation, they're gonna have to figure out a different way to market it.
yeah, here's the thing. Timeshares had a market when they were created, and they
Yeah.
very much were a strong thing to do through the 90s. And you can stay at timeshares free a lot of the time in Vegas if you agree to go to their 2-hour meeting and they try to sell it to you.
Yeah.
He is
Or
just say
Florida.
no, 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 and then leave the meeting.
Yeah.
But that's 3 hours out of your vacation time. Is it really worth it? Honestly, at this point in time, when you can get such great deals, I
Or
would
stay
say
in Airbnb
or
and no one bothers you.
yeah, I would say no. And with the real estate market being the way it is, and real estate appreciating at record levels, if you can afford to just get into a property at another place, like say you're somebody that goes to Branson 3 or 4 times a year, I would definitely lean towards buying some sort of condo or house there on your own and renting it out, because on top of having a place to stay when you go there, you're going to make a decent income on top of that.
Yeah, honestly, it is probably my personality type why I hate timeshares so much, because I don't like going to the same place. I am very much so, once I've
Yeah.
been there once, I don't want to go there again. There's too much in the world to see in my eyes to go there again. Like Iceland, absolutely love it. I could tell you anything you want to know about going to Iceland, and I would love to go again, but I probably won't, at least for an extremely long time, because there's so many other places in the world that are just as good, if not better, or new. So it's hard for me to get behind a timeshare idea.
The number one thing you should not do when going to Iceland is take a 1-year-old during storm season.
Yes, I will vouch for that. That is
Okay.
not a great idea.
All right. Well, since we've been talking so much about Airbnb, it actually leads me into another article that Skift put out about travel IPOs to watch for in 2021.
Okay.
And I thought this was interesting because I personally only recognized one company on the list, and it's one that I want to talk about for sure, and that is Turo. So first of all, have you heard of Turo?
I have not.
Okay, that's
Turo.
interesting
Is
to
it
me.
Turo?
Yes.
Nope,
So
never heard of it.
what Turo is it's Airbnb for rental cars. Basically, you can put any of your cars within a certain guideline. It's basically the same guidelines as like Uber has for their vehicles, but you can put that car on Turo and you can rent your car out for the weekend. You can do it with your own personal vehicle and only make it available at certain dates, or you can buy a car strictly for Turo and just have that car parked in the same place and, you know, set it up so you can activate it with an app or whatever, or you can meet up with the driver. But it's basically the same idea. It's car sharing in the same way that you're house sharing with Airbnb.
Interesting.
One of the things that I've noticed Turo is great for here in St. Louis is if you want to drive a luxury car that you cannot get from the rental car places. It is absolutely flooded with Teslas and Lamborghinis here.
Wow.
Yeah, but there are cars on there. You know, there's minivans on there. There's pickup trucks, which also make it a great option for people that may need to move or something like that. Turo, according to data analytics from Second Market Share, currently has 90% market share on the car sharing platform. That's because I don't know of anywhere else that does that other than Zipcar is considered the same thing, but that's really enterprise rental cars vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. So they basically have it locked down.
I want to make sure that people, because I'm just reading about it here. Make sure you talk to your insurance company on how to get it covered for Turo, and Turo does offer their own insurance for Turo cars, basically. But I would check with your insurer first, because it may help you qualify for like a multi-policy, that might make your own personal car cheaper.
Yeah, that's definitely something to check into. If you do go through Turo for your insurance, it's provided by Liberty Mutual, so a company that everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually also provide insurance to the person renting it based on the fees that they pay out of every rental too. So the car is covered on both ends. But the company's based in San Francisco. It originally raised $280 million in funding, which is a huge amount of money.
Like on a Kickstarter kind of fund. I'm
Yeah.
assuming probably by private fundies, but under the same kind of
idea.
pretense. Yeah.
And it's a decade-old startup, so they've been around a decade now. I've been familiar with them for about the past. Actually, I've probably been familiar with them for about a decade now. Because you can be younger and rent cars through them. You can be 18, I believe, and rent a car. But they had their first profitable quarter in the third quarter of 2020. So while everybody else in the travel industry is having trouble keeping money, they're making money. They haven't closed the books on their fourth quarter, but it's expected that they made more money, and it's expected that last year they will have had $153 million in revenue.
Wow, that's so I'm curious to see if they kind of try to do some kind of partnership with Airbnb. Honestly, that's because I mean, how many times people could be leaving their car also at the Airbnb home, and then the person can rent the house and rent the car in the same place. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet.
I agree. It would be a brilliant partnership. There are a couple other companies like that. In Europe, there's one called BlaBlaCar.
Oh yeah, that's safe. That makes me really comfortable.
They also want to go public in a couple of years, and then there's another company called GetAround. So there's a little bit of overlap, but their models all differ a little bit, and Turo's definitely kind of got the big market share on that one.
Yeah, I'm reading more about this. It's really interesting because they just, depending on the car that you're renting, you definitely want to look and see what it's offering, because the person who it's just like an Airbnb. They set up exactly the rules and terms. So so many miles, if there's unlimited mileage, if you have to have gas, if you have to refill it, just like you would with a rental car. So I would definitely make sure that look into any of that. Now I do see that it's San Francisco based. Now, do you know if this is happening, US wide at this point?
Yes, they are all over the US.
Okay.
I'm just going to give some examples now because I have it pulled up for here in St. Louis.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of some prices, there's a Chevy Volt on there for $41 a day. There's a Tesla Model S. Now, you'll see those cars that are considered luxury be significantly higher.
Mhm.
Tesla's $118 a day, though. So if you're somebody that just wants to drive a Tesla for a day, that's not bad.
Or if you have something important, that's like, I see this as being like really, really good for a business traveler too, because if you're wanting to impress a client and kind of show up in a little bit more style than you would for a normal rental car, I think that this is actually genius, because you've got it you can have, this car just for the one single day, and then have your other rental for the other time that you're, wherever you're at, if you need to do so. And it's all in the company, your company card. It's still a rental. It's still legitimate. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention, like Andrew said, there's a lot of details that an owner can put on here. There's an ad here for a 2011 Audi R8 Spider, which is a really sweet
one
convertible.
Of my dream cars.
It's $247 a day to rent, but the day does limit you to 100 miles, and then there are fees if you go over that.
Mm-hmm.
On top of this one, though, it is considered deluxe class, which means you do have to be at least 25 plus to book. If you're between 25 and 30, they will require you to give them a DMV record so they know your driving record, which makes sense. I mean, we're talking about a
you don't
six-figure car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm sure that's why they've got the extra. But it's probably how their insurance works is you have to be over 25 because they won't even cover. They probably won't even cover anybody that's under 25 driving that car.
Yeah,
If
and
you're
then
driving a 6-figure car, that's not happening.
definitely make sure you're looking if it's manual or automatic transmission. This one's automatic, but there are manual transmission cars on Turo.
Mm-hmm.
Some people charge a cleaning fee that's just default on every booking, like a $50 cleaning fee.
Mm-hmm.
Some people only charge a cleaning fee in certain situations. Some people require you to put gas in it at the end. Some people don't. I'm trying to think of everything else that's on there. Oh, delivery. That's the biggest thing on Turo that I think is a huge benefit. Some drivers will mention free delivery on their posting. Most of the time, that means if you're within 20 miles, they will bring the car to you.
Okay.
Which is something Enterprise does anyway for people, even if you're in the middle of a field on a tractor that's broken down. But it's a big benefit in a car like this. Otherwise, you pick it up from the person's residence or something like that.
Yeah, actually, I've got one pulled up here for Detroit. Just pick up from the airport here, and I just found an Escalade for 123 a day. And I was just looking at the kind of extra things that it says in here, kind of compare what yours was saying. This one's a 21 and older. You must be able to book it. They've got a post trip cleaning for $25 a trip.
Yeah.
Prepaid fuel. So $65 a trip. And it basically just says for this, save time, make drop off a breeze, and avoid additional fees by adding this extra. So this is something you can add extra on, which allows you to return the car at any fuel level. And this price includes up to a full tank of gas. So in an Escalade, if you're dropping this off on empty, you're probably coming out ahead, depending on gas prices, because they're only $65. And then the post-trip cleaning is another thing that you can, it looks like these are just add-on extras that you can add on in case. So like you don't have to be clean. If you have like a pet that you're going to be traveling with, this covers them cleaning up after, like pet hair, that kind of thing. So things to consider when you are using these to book. Now, I don't see anything about delivery. I just see that it looks like they've got a distance included of 1,000 miles. So
yeah, you'll only see delivery if it's something that person is offering. I would say 90% of the rentals don't.
Okay.
But some of them do. But like you said, you've really got to make sure you read through everything. But anyway, so that's Turo. We spent a lot of time on that one, but I'm just going to go over a few of these other companies that I have honestly not heard of. So the next one, I hope I don't say this wrong, is Yanolja. It's Yanolja. It's a South Korean company that's considered a online travel agency, hotel tech provider, and hotel operator. They are trying to go public, and they're hoping to do so this year, but they haven't scheduled a listing yet. They currently have a $4 billion valuation goal. So we'll see what happens there. As far as that, though, it's not really clear to me exactly what they do other than they're a hotel operator. So, yeah. There's Traveloka, which is Southeast Asia's largest online travel startup. Their goal is to also go public soon, hoping this year with a private market valuation of $2.75 billion. They are a Jakarta-based company, and they've raised more than $750 million to date from investors. One of those investors is Expedia Group, though. I would say startups with Expedia Group as an investor are probably going to end up being taken over by Expedia Group.
Yeah, I would say that's probably safe. I think there's going to be a lot of acquisitions this year, just in the travel world in general, for companies that maybe didn't get as much financial support or as much of that revenue. Most well-run companies are not running paycheck to paycheck, as like a light way to put it. So a lot of these companies that, yeah, they've been absolutely decimated by the pandemic. They still kind of know how to manage these kind of things. But going further into this year, the longer that this goes on, you're going to see more and more of these small companies being gobbled up by the larger ones. So hopefully things get kind of squared away for the better, as sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap this up, I think this is the last one. There's a few more in this article, but this is the last one that I find to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a company called Vacasa. It is here in the U.S., and they are the largest full-service manager of vacation rentals here in the States. They said before the pandemic that they wanted to go public, and in June, just in June, they raised $108 million following a $319 million Series C round that it closed last year. So they're growing and they're seeing a new thing. They did hire a new CFO about a week ago, and they're seeing growth. But basically, what they do is they're a lot like Airbnb as far as where you can go in and book things like that. But they are also a vacation management company, which means they will actually do the property management for your property, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's basically like having a personal travel agent, kind of. It's like you're
Yeah.
having like your own personal, not even travel agent, just like personal secretary to manage everything.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're maintaining the property for the owner too. So
Yeah.
they're handling everything.
It's like having a landlord that works for you.
Exactly. And I
It's
will
like, yeah.
say they are not currently in the majority of the Midwest here in the States. Basically anything from North Dakota and Minnesota straight down to Oklahoma and Arkansas is not part of their area. And then like
Okay.
Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, but they are in almost every other state, including Michigan. So I'm sure
All
you could
right.
find one.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. That was the last thing that I had. I think we got a lot of good information out though. Some stuff that we don't normally talk about too. So that was good. We got a lot of car stuff. The rail was a nice surprise. The cruises going into next year, 2022, 2023, and this is really the end of next year because that's their winter cruises. So
Yeah, it's really nice for us who are in the industry to see some different things once in a while, and this definitely focused on some different stuff.
yeah. So I think we can wrap this episode up with a little bit of uplifting.
In a world where a single quote can inspire and drive the most stubborn of mules, Unknown Destination is here to deliver.
Not to cut you off before you do this, because I'm going to ruin my little intro, but I nailed the time and it played right, and I'm so happy about it. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
No, that's okay. This is a momentous occasion for anybody that's been listening to the other podcasts. For some reason, that one audio clip just does not like us when it is time to be played.
Yeah.
But this one, I kind of had a few different quotes to go off of for today for this episode, but this one really hit me home for just on a personal level. The past kind of couple weeks, kind of during our hiatus, I did a lot of soul searching myself and kind of just trying to figure out what I want in life. And so this quote is probably going to be a little deep. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. And I absolutely love this quote because it's kind of I'm a procrastinator by heart, and sometimes all it takes is that single step, no matter, and this isn't just with travel related, but anything in your life. If you can just make that first little bit of effort to get the ball rolling, you never know where you're going to be taken.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you got to start to go. So
yep, but that's gonna wrap it up for this week on our Unknown Destination. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, that is Justin and I'm Andrew, and we will see you on the next one.
See y'all later.
I don't wanna be here. Take me